Hey everybody, welcome to episode 87 of the Metal Detecting Show podcast. My name is Kieran and I have been metal detecting now for nearly 30 years. So this week, I want to bring you up to speed on a plan I've had with the podcast. I want to make some announcements, and also I'm going to do this episode freestyling, freeballing. I'm just going to record it and put it out there. So let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, before we get down to it, I want to thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you really like this content, please don't hesitate to tell your friends, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you want to support the show, there are many options available in the links in the show notes, so check them out. And if you want to interact with me, that stuff's in there too. So let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's podcast. I'm calling it the bonus podcast, and I'm doing it freestyle. So I'm not making any notes. I'm just talking off a little mind map I've made here in front of me. There's the first of many M's, by the way, I'd imagine, in this episode. So you're probably wondering why I'm doing it this way this week. Well, last week was so full of content with our World War II relic hunting episode that I actually forgot about making this announcement. And I suppose that announcement is I had planned to take a break from the podcast from the month of December. It was something I planned a couple of months ago, that I was going to take December off and come back again on January the 7th. But last week I forgot to make that announcement. So in an effort not to stiff you, I said I'd go ahead and do a quick episode this week, make that announcement, and get on with my Christmas. And you guys can get on with your Christmas too. So I suppose, what am I going to talk about this week? Well, I probably don't have any top tech timeouts or tips or anything this week. So I'm just going to do what the plan for the podcast is in 2022, what highlights of the year so far, and, you know, what highlights have been in the metal detecting community over the last year. So I suppose let's get on with the podcast. What's the plan for the podcast in 2022? Well, I'd like to keep going with the way it has been. It's been very sort of, how would I say it? Formulaic, I think, is a good word, in that I have, it's every week has been scripted. Like I say, I write about 3,000 words every week. Every word is scripted. So I'm generally just reading the podcast as I record it. I'd like to get more into this sort of freestyle method. It does sort of tend to lead to a little bit of rambling, but, you know, it may be more personal in the long run, right? So with the podcast, I'd like to get more freestyle in it. I'd like to extend the length of the content as well. Obviously, I'd like to get some sponsorship on the podcast next year at some stage, but sponsorship that makes sense. I'm not going to start advertising food boxes or stuff like that. You know, as long as it makes sense for me and for you guys, then I'd like to get some sponsorship in that way, right? In relation to other content I want to create, I don't know if you realize, but every week I put up the podcast, it's automatically put up on YouTube as well. So I've got about 100 subscribers on YouTube. Actually, that's wrong. Let me just check. 87, a little bit of an exaggeration, but I've about 87 subscribers on YouTube. And hello to all my YouTube listeners, I suppose. But that's it. It's only audible content on YouTube, where YouTube is designed for video content. So I'd like to get more into some video content, not at such a regular cadence like with the podcast, but I'd like to put up some videos up on YouTube, some funny maybe, some technical, a little bit of everything, I think. So I'm going to double down on a little bit of YouTube content next year. I also have the plans for a test bed, an actual calibrated, fully scientific test bed that I want to benchmark as many metal detectors as I can on this. I have sort of elaborated on that through the Patreon, but that's got stalled a little bit due to family things and stuff like that. But I want to pick that up again next year. It requires me buying a bigger 3D printer, but, you know, that's all in hand at the minute. But yeah, I want to build a behemoth of a test bed and actually do some scientific benchmarking on as many metal detectors as I can, right? So that's one of the plans for the podcast next year. I have my book essentially written out 90% of the way. I need some finessing. I suppose I did say it before, I realized that I am not a children's writer. So trying to break down technical aspects into the voice of a child is very difficult, I suppose. So I've had to rewrite it a few times with that simplicity in mind. And that's where we are with sort of the content creating. And that's it really from the podcast perspective. You know, more episodes, try and make them a little bit longer, try and do some more freestyling, get a bit of advertisement going, doubling down on my YouTube content, and let's see where that takes us, okay? Let's look at some highlights of the year or so for me. So as you know, I'm essentially a beach detectorist. The targets I look for are generally modern jewelry and modern clad coins. But as you've listened to the podcast over the year, I've sort of tended more towards this sort of beach relic hunting. It's really got my juices flowing. And because of that, halfway through the year, I kind of switched what I was hunting for to more the older type of relic type targets, away from clad. In fact, the clad targets actually didn't get me going as much. So this year, my clad total, I would say, is about €70, which is not bad, but covers all the diesel, covers the coffee, I suppose. It's not bad, but it's not amazing either. But my top finds of this year have to be the Louis XVI thimble, solid silver thimble from 1815, I think. Actually, the last hunt that I found, the silver spoon and the musket ball, that has to be the best hunt I've had all year. I really was buzzing after that one, and it really motivated me to double down on this relic beach type of hunting. It made it accessible to me. So, let's see where I can take that in 2022. Other finds, I've had loads of buttons and some old coins and stuff like that. But yeah, they're the main ones. They're the best ones. So the best ones are the thimble, the musket ball, and the silver spoon I found now recently. So that's where we are. I do want to get on fields this year or next year, but COVID is really kicking our ass here in Ireland. And, the thoughts of a stranger knocking on a door during this pandemic is just really not gonna help my situation. So I'm just gonna pause on that for a minute and reach out early next year to try and get some permissions. It's not ideal. I don't like waiting, but let's get on with it. And realistically, if I want to get some sponsorship, I want to get a few detectors in on the show for review, I have to be able to review them on the field, on the beach, in the river, in as many sort of terrains as I possibly can. So this is what I want to do. So I need to get some permissions next year. Is from a hunting perspective a top priority. And then we can talk about, I just mentioned COVID, and we could talk about the metal detecting industry, any highlights from that over the year. I would have loved to done a highlights or an update of what's coming in 2022 episode like I did last year. But as you can see, nothing has happened this year because of COVID, because of the chip shortage in China. There has been very few new and updated metal detectors out this year from the manufacturers, and any of the accessories are just elaboration on previous accessories. So no real news really in that regard, right? Now, we did finish strong. I suppose at the start of the year, we had the C-Scope Evo 6000, which I suppose got shelved for the minute because of COVID, really. They did have some quality issues on their trials when they sent out their detectors for field testing. They did come up with some issues. I have been talking to Paul and C-Scope. When they release it now, they'll reach out, I suppose, and we can get more details on that, okay? But then, of course, in November, we had the Nokta Makro, the Legend, that came out, was released. Let's see what happens there. The simultaneous multi-frequency machine looks very promising. I'm very excited about it. I'd love to give it a shot. Delek has committed to coming on the podcast to have a chat about it. So let's see where that goes. But that was the biggest news to a point in November. And then all of a sudden, XP Deus 2 comes out. Again, at a higher level than the Nokta Makro Legend. This is a price point of in excess or nearly €2,000, probably to compete against the CTX 3030 now. I can't think of much of a competition there from that in relation to the CTX has been out, God, over 10 years now at this stage. So let's see where that goes. They are bombarding the internet with loads of marketing. Let's see where that brings us. And that's it really. I mean, we've had a very quiet year from a metal detecting perspective. C-Scope Evo 6000, the Legend, and the XP Deus 2 have been really the highlights from a device perspective. I know Quest did release another detector, but that was almost like a rebranding of an older one. And there hasn't been much else really. It's been a really slow year. And if you're in the business of trying to create content around metal detecting and treasure hunting and the hobby, it's been a tough year to create content with so little content out there. So let's hope 2022 is a little bit better in that regard. And that's it, guys. quick and easy, a nice simple episode. I'm gonna minimize the amount of editing I do, and it probably cut out some M's and ifs and buts and guts. But yeah, let's just wrap it up. Happy holidays, guys. Whether you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, or any of the holidays, I hope your festivities are brilliant. I hope you enjoy your time with your family. I hope you have a family to enjoy it with. And let's see what 2022 brings. I'm looking forward to 2022, guys. I hope you are. And finally, thank you all, each and every one of you, for all your support over the year 2021. We've doubled our listenership over the year. We have gone from about 380 listeners at the start of the year to just over 1,000 listeners regularly every week, which is amazing to me. It just makes me want to keep going, getting better and better with the content. Did I ever think I would get to 52 episodes? I don't think I ever did. Now I'm banging on the door of nearly 100 episodes, nearly 2 years. In mid-March, I'll be 2 years creating the podcast. And it's been a wonderful experience. And I've met some wonderful people through social media. Yeah, I just want to thank you all for all your support over the year. And here's to 2022. Get out there, eyes down, good luck, happy Christmas, happy New Year, happy Thanksgiving, happy Hanukkah, happy Cinco de Mayo, happy Halloween, happy St. Patrick's Day, and happy New Year. I'll talk to you all again next year. Back January the 7th.